Marcus Wellington had everything money could buy. His penthouse overlooked the city like a kingdom, his cars filled a garage most people would call a mansion, and his bank account had more zeros than he cared to count. But tonight, something gnawed at him as he watched Rosa Martinez, his housekeeper of 15 years, gather her worn coat and faded handbag. She moved slowly, her shoulders bent from decades of hard work, yet she hummed softly to herself. Marcus had barely noticed her over the years. She was simply there, like the furniture, cleaning his world while remaining invisible in it. But today, his accountant had delivered troubling news. Rosa had refused her annual bonus, the third year in a row. When pressed, she'd simply said she didn't need it. The words haunted Marcus. Everyone needs money. What was she hiding? His curiosity burned stronger than his evening whiskey. As Rosa stepped into the elevator, Marcus made a reckless decision. He grabbed his keys and followed her. The city streets swallowed her small frame as she walked past the bus stop, past the subway entrance, choosing instead to travel on foot through neighborhoods that grew rougher with each block. Marcus kept his distance, his expensive car crawling behind like a predator. The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, while Rosa's figure moved with purpose through streets Marcus had never seen despite living here his entire life. She stopped once to help an elderly man pick up his scattered groceries, refusing the dollar he offered. She smiled at children playing in a broken playground, her face transformed by genuine warmth. Marcus felt something uncomfortable twist in his chest. This woman, who scrubbed his toilets and folded his sheets, possessed a grace he'd never noticed. After 40 minutes of walking, Rosa turned down an alley that made Marcus's pulse quicken with concern. The alley opened into a forgotten part of the city where buildings leaned against each other like tired soldiers. Rosa stopped before a crumbling community center, its windows patched with cardboard, its walls covered in graffiti and peeling paint. A broken sign read Hope Haven Community. Marcus parked a block away and approached on foot, his designer shoes crunching on broken glass. Through a grimy window, he watched Rosa transform. She removed her coat and immediately children swarmed her like bees to honey. Their faces, marked by poverty and hardship, lit up with pure joy. She hugged each one, remembering their names, asking about their days. Marcus counted at least 20 kids, ranging from toddlers to teenagers. Rosa moved to a makeshift kitchen, nothing more than a hot plate and a donated microwave, and began unpacking groceries from her bag. The same bag Marcus assumed carried only her personal belongings. She'd been buying food with her own money. For the next hour, Marcus watched through the window as Rosa cooked, served, and fed every child. She stretched the meal impossibly thin, ensuring each kid got something while she ate nothing herself. After dinner, she helped with homework, sitting with struggling readers, praising small victories, turning frustration into determination. A teenage girl showed Rosa a report card, and tears streamed down Rosa's weathered face as she pulled the girl close. Marcus felt his own eyes burning. His phone buzzed with emails about million-dollar deals, but he couldn't look away from this scene. Rosa pulled out a guitar, its body held together with duct tape, and led the children in songs. Their voices rose, imperfect and beautiful, filling the broken space with something money couldn't manufacture. Hope. Pure, defined hope. When a little boy started coughing, Rosa produced medicine from her purse, the kind Marcus recognized from his own bathroom cabinet. She'd been taking his unused medications. He should have felt angry, violated. Instead, shame washed over him like acid. Marcus couldn't stop himself. He pushed through the door, and the room fell silent. 20 pairs of eyes turned toward him, fear replacing joy in an instant. These children knew men in expensive suits meant trouble, evictions, removals, endings. Rosa stood slowly, her face draining of color. She'd been caught, and she knew it. "Mr. Wellington," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please, don't shut this place down. I know I shouldn't have taken those things, but these children." Marcus raised his hand, silencing her. He looked around the room properly now. The walls were painted with murals, created by untrained but hopeful hands. Donation jars sat empty on a table. A chore chart showed the kids taking turns cleaning, learning responsibility in a world that had given them little reason to believe in structure. "How long?" Marcus asked quietly. Rosa's shoulders sagged. 12 years. After my daughter died, I had nothing. This place saved me. These children, they have nobody. Parents working 3 jobs, or in jail, or gone. They come here after school because it's safe. Because someone cares. She twisted her hands together. I used my salary for rent and groceries for them. The bonus money you gave me went to keeping the lights on, but it's not enough anymore. The city wants to demolish this building. We have 30 days. 30 days. The number echoed in Marcus's mind. He'd spent more than this building's worth on his last vacation. He'd dropped $50,000 on a watch he wore twice. Why didn't you ask me for help? The question came out harsher than intended. Rosa laughed, but it was bitter. Mr. Wellington, you don't see me. Not really. I'm the woman who makes your bed and washes your dishes. Why would you care about poor children in a forgotten neighborhood? The words struck him like a physical blow because they were absolutely true. For 15 years, this woman had moved through his life like a ghost, and he'd never once asked about hers. Tell me about your daughter, Marcus said, pulling up a battered chair. The children watched, confused by this strange man in their sanctuary. Rosa hesitated, then began to speak. Her daughter, Maria, had been brilliant. She'd earned a scholarship to college, the first in their family to go. But during her sophomore year, she was hit by a drunk driver. No insurance, massive medical bills, and 3 weeks later, she was gone. Rosa lost everything paying for treatments that ultimately failed. She wanted to be a teacher, Rosa said, tears flowing freely now. She wanted to give kids like these a chance. When I found this place, falling apart and forgotten, I saw her dream. I couldn't let it die too. Marcus looked at the children, really looked at them. A little girl clutched a donated teddy bear with one eye missing. A boy wore shoes held together with tape. A teenager studied algebra on paper torn from her old notebook. They weren't statistics or charity cases. They were survivors, fighters, dreamers. Just like he'd been once, before money had insulated him from reality. His own mother had cleaned houses to keep him fed. She'd worked herself to exhaustion so he could have tutors and a good school. He'd forgotten that struggle the moment he'd made his first million. Rosa had been the same age as his mother back then, probably fighting the same battles, invisible to the people she served. I'll buy the building, Marcus said suddenly. Rosa's head snapped up. What? I'll buy it, renovate it, set up a trust fund to keep it running. But I have conditions. He saw hope and fear war across her face. I want you to run it properly. Not as my maid who does this in secret, but as the director. Full salary, benefits, a real staff. I want these kids to have what they need: food, supplies, tutors, safety. Rosa's hands flew to her mouth. The children erupted in confusion, not understanding what was happening but sensing something monumental. 3 months later, Marcus stood before the transformed Hope Haven Community Center. The building gleamed with fresh paint, new windows that actually closed, and a sign that could be read from the street. Inside, the changes were even more profound. A real kitchen, a library filled with new books, computers for homework, and rooms dedicated to art, music, and tutoring. Rosa's office had her name on the door, Director Rosa Martinez. She'd cried for an hour when she first saw it. Marcus had done more than write checks. He'd shown up, rolled up his sleeves, and painted walls alongside volunteers. He'd sat with children during homework hour, discovering that listening to a struggling reader was harder and more rewarding than closing any business deal. He'd learned their names, their dreams, their fears. Jose wanted to be a doctor. Amelia loved poetry. Marcus wrote letters of recommendation for older kids applying to colleges, and used his connections to secure scholarships. The teenage girl who'd shown Rosa her report card now had a full ride to the state university. She'd be the second person from Hope Haven to go to college, and she wouldn't be the last. Rosa had tried to refuse the director position initially, insisting she wasn't qualified. But Marcus had seen what he'd missed for 15 years, her quiet strength, her boundless compassion, her ability to make broken things whole. She was the most qualified person he'd ever met. On opening day, Marcus gave a short speech to the gathered community. He thanked Rosa, calling her his teacher, the person who'd shown him that wealth meant nothing without purpose. He looked at the children, young faces full of possibility, and made a promise. This center would stand as long as they needed it. As the celebration continued around them, Rosa took Marcus's hand. "Why did you follow me that night?" she asked. Marcus thought back to that moment, the curiosity that had pulled him from his comfortable penthouse into the real world. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I'm grateful I did. You gave me something I'd lost." "What's that?" Rosa asked. Marcus smiled, watching children play in a space that almost didn't exist, saved by a woman he'd almost never seen. "A reason to be rich," he said simply. And for the first time in decades, Marcus Wellington went home feeling truly wealthy.